Jay. Hey, false prophets, they twist the scriptures and stop they won't. Until the real ones arrive and show them how it goes. Loose crack in the ground and demons move with fear. But some demons are stronger and they just reappear. I pray to God that he help me and that I won't fall. Deep thought, little is chosen, but many called. Yeah, I'm scared for my actions, that's why I'm trying to change. Demons choosing when they attack, the time and day. My life's a struggle, so I'm writing, hoping you relate. But some of y'all can't, cause y'all just snakes that spit up in my face. Young prophet making change, and not just for myself, but for those that need the help. Yeah, look how it changed from how it used to be. Look how it changed, yeah. We not the same, we know who we used to be. We not the same, no, yeah. Look how it changed from how it used to be.
Hey, it's real talk, young prophet. I like this.
We not the same, we know who we used to be.
Yeah. We used to break laws to break hundreds. Cases never solved, first 4,800. Hesitate to leave streets, devastate with sheesh. Repenting for my sins, let me meditate in peace. The heat selection like it's heat detection. Trip wires, spit fire in each direction. I grew up with Puerto Ricans, so I know passion. I grew up with fellow demons, we had no compassion. The streets a mess and they got no napkins. We from the bottom like it's closed caption. And I read about Christ, started slow clapping. The old man had the toe tackle.
Hey, look how it changed from how it used to be. Look how it changed, We not the same, we know who we used to be. We not the same, no, yeah. Look how it changed from how it used to be. From how it used to be, We not the same, we know who we used to be.
It's a major difference. Look, I was fitted to be a king, no cap. I had to snap back. Prophets like Rafiki, they got me back on the right track. Cause I was living life like a cooler matata, but took a looking at water to remember my father. Then told myself, you supposed to be a lion king. Honestly, you like 10 times better than who you trying to be. Wanna serve the Lord, you gotta hate city. Now I'm a whole different person like I shape shifted. Old things passed away, new creature, who am I? Laws put in front of me, it was either do or die. Man, I'm thankful that the Lord revealed his truth to me. Cause now I'm nothing like that person that I used to be. Look at how it changed.
Look how it changed from how it used to be. Look how it changed, We not the same, we know who we used to be. We not the same, no, yeah. Look how it changed from how it used to be. From how it used to be, We not the same, we know who we used to be. Who we used to be, yeah.
Not again, Monet.
Yeah. Yeah. Zay. The Prince. Yeah.
I just the mask off, Christ come, I'm a blast off. Serious, no mask off. I just the mask off. I just the mask off, Christ come, I'm a blast off. Serious, no mask off. I just the mask off. No. I just the mask off, don't cough. You see how up in the mix, how you walk. Don't move, gotta watch how you talk. Mask off, call him off in the dark. He don't wanna talk that 10. Not about that man. You don't want smoke with him. Nah, not enough oxygen. Walked in, Bible step on my hip. Big gun, Bible empty the clip. Lead through, so you know how we built. Mask off, call the wolf in the mix. Mask off, ain't no one in the fear. God Christ and the angels in here. Talk tough, then you know they appear. We out, chariots in the air. I took the mask off, Christ come, I'm a blast off. Serious, no mask off. I took the mask off. I took the mask off,
Christ come, I'ma blast off. Serious, no mask off. I'm the mask off. I took the mask off. Teach the people. Bible on me, never know we ain't equal. One book, bring it out with the Deacon. Shoved up, go to war with the demons. Bible on me when I stepped up. Cry aloud with my chest up. Don't fall with the next step. Don't fall with the next step. Ain't no shame in us. Ain't no pain in us. Keep that shade with us. There's no change in us. Ain't no flame in us. Christ gon' stay with us. Christ gon' stand with us. Christ come, I'ma blast off. Serious, no mask off. I'm just the mask off. Yeah, I'm just the mask off. I am a God. Nothing below. Fire is high. Pray that it blow. Cut off the snakes. Tell them to go. I got the blood of a Jew in my body and now let it flow. Oh, yeah. Up on my side, it's a weapon. I'm flipping script in a second. Give me some love for none. Bring it out, no fun. You cannot bring me to fear. I know my kingdom is near. Last up and belly here. Let it blow, let me hit the mask off. Christ come, I'ma blast off. Serious, no mask off. I'm just the mask off.
Be a difference now, boy. I got my mask on. Seeing is the truth in this game, so watch the head dogs. The devil's angels choking us out. They got us roped off. In-144 is the code. That's that drop off. Our nation is suffocating. Our strength is underrated. The willows we serenade. This image we procreate. AOGs rocking new bodies for that stand up. The army of the Lord I will call. I got my mask on.
The mask off. Christ come, I'ma blast off. Serious, no mask off. I'm just the mask off. I just the mask off. Christ come, I'ma blast off. Serious, no mask off. I just the mask off. I just the mask off.
Keep your distance, wash your hands. It takes a face covering as we're all.
Shalom, Israel. Most High in Christ bless you all. I'm glad to be back. Welcome to another edition of the Bible, the Book of Our Fathers. We are in part 3 of a series that we're doing. The name of the series is The Revelation of the Wicked. Okay, The Revelation of the Wicked. And I have a subtitle that's going to go up underneath that, which is entitled The Evil That the Israelites Face. The evil that the Israelites face. Okay, so understand that this is part 3 of the series of the Revelation of the Wicked, and I'm going to deal with the subtitle of the evil that the Israelites face, meaning the 12 tribes of Israel. There's a level of evil that we are facing, and we want to talk about that. And you're going to find out that this evil is not just happening in these days. This evil has been going on for quite a while. We're going to go into a little bit of what I might call recent history to let you know that the tempo against the Israelites have been stepped up. Okay, so we're going to talk about that on this particular episode. I'm Deacon Asaph, and I'm going to pass over to my right.
Shalom, Israel. Most High in Christ bless you. I'm Captain Sariah.
Hey, Shalom, Israel. Happy Sabbath. Also, Eli.
Shalom, Israel. Also not Sean. Most High in Christ bless.
Okay, all praises to the Most High. Yeah, Officer, you might want to, as we are going, Officer Nashawn, I see you fiddling, getting it together, which is a good thing, So we're going to get it right. So, brothers in the booth, you don't have to make any adjustments at the moment. We can somewhat get it together while we're listening, because that's why we have our headphones on. So I want to start. I want to make a point that we have been experiencing in the last, within this year, pretty much, an increase of racial violence, an increase of injustice, an increase of persecution, an increase of an absolute repression of the truth. Meaning that as the truth continues to evolve, to come out, meaning the truth about who the Israelites are, there's a everlasting, I don't want to use the word everlasting because it's not going to last forever, but there's an actual effort to try to keep the truth of the Bible suppressed. Okay, I want to get a scripture. Don't hold on, Nashawn. Give me Revelation 12 and 12. Okay, let's read that. Let's set the tone. Now I'm going to play a series of videos in this particular episode, because there's a lot of information that we want to bring out, and we hope that you follow along. Some of this stuff, some of what I'm about to show y'all have never seen it before. When I say never seen it before, meaning unless you saw it live when it was actually aired, meaning like about nearly 30 years ago. Okay, I had taped it off of the news when I was in New York, and I haven't seen it on YouTube or anything. So y'all gonna see some of the archives that y'all been hearing me talk about for so long. So you're gonna see a little bit of it today. Let's read that.
Revelations chapter 12 and verse 12.
This is what's happening with the Israelites, the evil that the Israelites face. Come on.
Verse 12. Therefore rejoice, ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil is come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knoweth that he hath but a short time.
You know what's important about you reading that verse? I'm going to show you something. Let me show you some of the wrath that's coming from the devil, because he knows that he has but a short time. Can we put our disclaimer up there? Why should we have to do this? Put that disclaimer up there. We have to explain that we are not a hate group. Are you kidding me? We have to explain this because the devil has come down upon our people. That's turning. What's going on with this thing here? What happened here? Okay, come on, brothers, get it together. I know we got. Let me just preface the brothers and sisters that are watching. We got some of our kinks out from last week, and we got some rather sensitive equipment in the booth. So brothers are trying to get it together. So bear with us if there's a couple of glitches and whatever. Not broadcast wise. We pretty much solved that problem, but we have some sensitive equipment. So brothers are trying to navigate on how to do that. We've been here for about the past 4 hours earlier today trying to get used to it. So I think we're about ready now. So just letting everybody know. So brothers in the booth, we got cars. We have when I say King Cars, we have King Cars on the graphics. We also have Soldier Hoshea. He's in the building. We have Soldier Uriah. He's on the cameras with Officer Zaria. And we also have our brother Israel that's in there on the transitions on the technical team. So I wanted to give a shout out to them for the great work that they do and the tenacity that they harness within their spirit to come together to make sure that this show is a success. So we give thanks and honor to the Most High for putting the spirit on all of us to come together and do the right thing. So without any further delay, let me continue on with the works. So read that again.
Revelations chapter 12 and verse 12. Therefore rejoice, ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil is come down unto you.
For the devil is come down upon us. Put that disclaimer up there again. Let's get that out the way. That disclaimer. We have to put up that we are not a hate group. We have not lynched anybody. We have not did any acts of hate against anyone at all, but somehow the daggone devil has put the label of hate on us, that we have to be on the defensive and say that we're not a hate group. Wow. But this is indicative of these times. So let's get it out the way. Go ahead, Cap. You want to drop it on them?
Israel united in Christ. We are not a hate group. Let's say that again. We are not a hate group.
Go ahead.
We are not affiliated with any other Israelite group. Israel United in Christ is a nonviolent, Bible-based movement. We do not advocate or condone any acts of violence against any race, ethnicity, or gender.
We were brought over here on the slave ships. Why in the world should a slave have to say that we're not a hate group when all kinds of hatred has been levied against us? Mm-hmm. We have not been paid back, been robbed, raped, murdered, hung out to dry, unpaid. But yet we're the hate group. That's because the devil is telling you that we are the ones that you got to watch out for. Mm-hmm. Why? Because we have the truth. If we are into telling lies, or if we're into being jungle bunnies or running up and down a basketball court or whatever, just being entertainers, we got no problem. Mm-hmm. But the minute you pick this Bible up, don't they say in God we trust?
That's what they say.
The minute we pick this Bible up, all of a sudden, those that put your fingers on the Bible, you're a hater. And because we didn't bring you over here to read the Bible. We brought you over here to work you to death.
Right.
For you to be the footstools of our kingdom. But now you're trying to get out of that and you're trying to read the Bible, you're a hater. You ain't no damn good.
Trying to wiggle yourself underneath my foot.
Exactly. You're trying to get out. The hell is this? Go ahead, Captain. We have to talk about something. We don't advocate violence. You know damn well we don't.
Right. Right. Or condone any acts of violence against any race, ethnicity, or gender. We advise that if anyone hears or knows of any plots to cause harm to anyone or to break the laws of the land.
Here we are. We're trying to tell people to keep the laws of the land. Mm-hmm. This same land destroyed us, and we're still trying to abide because the Bible says that. Because the Bible tells us to keep the laws, obey the powers that be. Not necessarily because of you. We're doing it because the Bible says to do so. Mm-hmm. So let us get that straight. Read.
Mm-hmm. Or to break the laws of the land, you must contact the proper authorities to bring awareness to any possible threat as stated in Leviticus chapter 5 and verse 1.
That's the reason. That's the reason why we do this. Now let's read that Leviticus 5 and 1. We always quote it in terms of the disclaimer, but let's read why it says that. Let's read the reason why we are doing what we're doing. And you're trying to make us out to be a hate group and all of that. No. Let's read that Leviticus 5 and 1. Come on.
Leviticus chapter 5 and verse 1.
This is what we're obeying.
And if a soul sin and hear the voice of swearing.
Why were the Israelites brought over here on the slave ships? Because we sinned. So that was our punishment. So as we were brought to this country, we was brought into captivity. As we're serving our captivity in punishment for breaking God's laws, a bell should ring in our minds. We need to start obeying the laws of God. That's what we need to do. When we begin to do that, the Lord says, listen, this is not your rest. You obey my commandments. I will give you your land with power. I will give you your land with a military and with angels and all of that to protect you in your land. That's what the Most High is going to do for us if we follow what he said. And there's such an effort to keep us from following this Bible. I could be like I saw the brother. It was a video that I was watching. The brother was holding up a sign saying what did he say? First family. He was holding up a sign that had the woman and the man together and marriage, and it was a rainbow looking sign. So I guess somebody from the LGBT community walked up on him and said, "Listen, what are you talking about on the sign?" He said, and the guy said, "Don't refer to me that way. What did he say he was? I'm a homo lesbian. I'm a female white lesbian." He was a black man. He said, "But I'm a female lesbian, and you have to address me as that." Okay. So we can do all of that, but we can't be Israel. We can't be about the truth. We can be anything that we can imagine. Here I am, a man, a full man, but if I go outside and say I want to be a woman, I could be a woman. But I can't be an Israelite. I can't be one that followed the Bible. That's showing you that we are definitely in the last days. All right, brothers and sisters, yeah, that video exists. I saw it when I was in Atlanta with Bishop, and they showed that daggone thing, and that thing was funny as hell. You know, one of these days we'll play that video again if y'all don't know what I'm talking about. But y'all remember, right? Yes, that black man was funny as hell. He said, "Don't refer to me as he said, I'm a white lesbian." He was black as hell. He said, "I'm a white lesbian." He said, if y'all could, you woman, you could be a man, and a man could be a woman. A little small boy can go with a man. A 8-year-old boy can go with a man that's 48, and it's no problem. They've gotten rid of consensual age of consent laws and all of that. But when it comes to us dealing with the Bible, it's a problem. You see the wickedness that we're in? Read that Leviticus again, man, because we need to get out of here. We need our Savior to get us away from all this wickedness. Come on.
Leviticus chapter 5 and verse 1. And if a soul sin and hear the voice of swearing and is a witness, whether he have seen or known of it.
This is what we're supposed to be doing. If we see wickedness and evil among ourselves, why are we going to hold that back?
Right.
Tell it. Why? Because when you do that, you're putting the brakes on impulse to commit sin. Because if you know somebody going to tell on your butt, you're going to think about it. That's the reason why the Most High had that up there. But if everybody got the nobody can't say anything kind of spirit, that means evil will be going on, wickedness will be going on. And what will end up happening as a result of one house being wicked, another house being wicked because nobody's saying nothing? Then the next thing you know, the whole damn town is wicked as hell with no checks and balances. So the Lord gave us a law on how to curb that. Okay? And the Most High says, listen, I the one that set up the powers. Okay? Because if we learn how to deal right in another man's kingdom, give me that. Well, I think I'm jumping around. I don't want to lose the topic. But the scriptures say that if we don't know how to, you ain't got to get it. I'm going to just quote it. If we don't know how to operate underneath another, in another kingdom, how will the Lord give us the true riches of our own kingdom? If you don't even know how to act righteously among yourselves in somebody else's kingdom, who will give to you the true riches in your own kingdom? Y'all gonna find it for me because I'm messing it all up. Y'all got it? I was trying to explain. I'm trying to say too many things. So every once in a while, you got to have the Bible to come in to make sure you get your words right. I hope y'all all right with me doing that. You found it? I think it's. Y'all know where it's at? So what is it?
It's in Luke.
Yeah, it's Luke. Luke 11, I think it is. Luke.
And I will say this.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm going to look for it.
Yeah, I will say this, and that we're following Leviticus 5 and 1. If you don't speak against the sin or whatever that particular sin that's taking place, you're just as much as part of it as the person that done it if you don't speak on it. You see what I'm saying? Then if somebody turns around and get killed or judgment come on them for it, that's blood upon your hand also. Am I right, brother? That same blood will be right upon the person's hand. And when they could have said something and stopped the sin or ended the madness.
Luke 16:11.
They end up allowing it to continue on. That blood is on everybody's hand. That's all I had to say.
Yes, all praises. Read that.
Luke chapter 16 and verse 11. If therefore ye have not been faithful in the unrighteous mammon.
If we have not been faithful, meaning in keeping God's laws, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not rape, rob, murder each other. If we have not learned how to do those things in another man's kingdom, read it again.
If therefore ye have not been faithful in the unrighteous mammon.
Go ahead.
Who will commit to your trust the true riches?
Who will commit to your trust the world? That's what he's saying. How would the master meaning the Most High, how will the master give us the whole planet to run if we don't even know how to operate underneath somebody else's world? That's what this is about. Your preachers are supposed to be telling you this. Oh, yes, we're going to talk about those low-life, low gutter preachers. We're going to get them too, because they just as evil as the daggone devil himself. Okay, we're going to talk about him. I've been hearing a lot of evil going through this week. And thank God it's Friday, as Deacon IBL would put it. I know he's coming on. Read that again.
Luke chapter 16, verse 11. If therefore ye have not been faithful in the unrighteous mammon, who will commit to your trust the true riches? And if ye have not been faithful in that which is another man's, who shall give you that which is your own?
You see that? Who shall give to us which is our own? So the Most High is making it clear. This is the reason why we follow what the Bible says. Okay, because we want to be able to be righteous in our own kingdom. Okay, give me Romans 13. Let me go a step further. Romans 13 and the 3rd verse. Romans 13 and 3.
Romans chapter 13 and verse 3. For rulers are not a terror to good works.
For the rulers, the powers that be, because that's what it's talking about, the powers that be are not a terror to those that keep God's commandments. Go ahead.
But to the evil.
But if you're evil and wicked as hell, we're supposed to tell on your butt. But not only that, the Most High said the rulers are a terror to those that commit wickedness. Read that again.
For rulers are not a terror to good works.
Go ahead.
But to the evil.
But the rulers are a terror to them that commit evil, meaning breaking the laws of the Most High. That's what it's really talking about. Go ahead.
Wilt thou then not be afraid of the powers?
That's the question. Will thou then not be afraid of the powers? Because when we had our own, we did not do that. We were not afraid of the Most High. So the Most High said, okay, since you don't want to follow when you had your own, I'm going to put you underneath this virulent beast. And he's going to teach you a thing or two. That's his job. Okay? Read.
Do that which is good.
Do that which is good, like Leviticus 5 and 1. Go ahead.
And thou shalt have praise of the same.
In other words, you'll be blameless. They can lie on us, but they ain't going to be able to have any truth with their lies. What it said, do that which is what?
Do that which is good.
Do that which is good by the laws of the Most High. Go ahead.
And thou shalt have praise of the same.
And nobody will be able to condemn you in righteousness. Go ahead.
Verse 4. For he is the minister of God to thee for good.
He is the minister of God to provoke you to good by chastising you when you break the laws of the Most High.
But if thou do that which is evil, be afraid. For he beareth not the sword in vain.
For he beareth what?
Not the sword in vain.
He don't bear the sword in vain, meaning he's going to use that sword. That's the reason why all this evil is coming down upon us, okay? But the preachers are supposed to know this. Man, being that the preachers ain't telling the people this,
Right.
the people are getting torn up, and they're wondering why is so much happening to them, okay? So that's it on that subject. I'm going to come back, and we're going to continue to move on. So now, I'm going to play a series of videos. Give me my first video. I'm going to talk about this brother named Arthur Ashe. Many of y'all might not know who he is. Some of y'all may know. He was a professional tennis player, and I say was because he's now dead. He played in the Wimbledon, these are the different tournaments around the 70s and 80s, okay, up until the 90s, certain things began to happen with the brother. But not only was he a tennis player professionally and won medals and things of that sort, he was also an activist for black people. A lot of people don't really know that side of him too much, but I'm just going to make mention of that because he was conscious about his people. And the reason why I say that, the reason why I'm bringing that particular piece in, because a lot of people are making a lot of noise about these athletes now that's making statements. Nick Cannon, what are some of the Sean Jackson and different different brothers that's coming out and saying certain things, okay? But going back during the time of Arthur Ashe, you had Muhammad Ali that was speaking up for black. You had like I mentioned, Arthur Ashe. These were political brothers that would say things about bringing attention to the real issues of being black in this country. And so I want to show you a little bit about him and the journey that he went through and how it's going to correlate into how we are being dealt with today. Like I said, this is the evil that the Israelites face. Let's play that video, brothers. Now I'm going to, before I do that, before I play that, this is Arthur Ashe by Yannick Noah, who was a professional tennis player, also who was inspired by Arthur Ashe. Could we look him up real quick? Could we put him up there? When I say put him up there, I think I sent the picture. Go to the picture. The first, I think, is the first picture that I asked for. It was about the brother Yannick. Give me a second, brothers. Hold it. I think did you move it to the front like I asked? Okay, maybe you didn't move it. It was the last picture that I put. Right, that one right there. Show them that. Mm-hmm. Show them that. This is the brother I'm talking about. Okay. Could we see the whole thing at the bottom? Because I sent you a whole clip. Shrink it up. Okay. Yannick Noah is a former professional tennis player and singer from France. So the video that I'm about to play is going to be him talking, but he's talking in French. So that's the reason why I wanted to show you this first, because you're going to be wondering why we can't understand the language, because there's subtitles in the video. Okay, Yannick Noah is a former professional tennis player and singer from France. He won the French Open in 1983 and is currently the captain of both France's Davis Cup and Fed Cup teams. Wikipedia, okay. And it gives you when he was born, 1960, May 18th, 1960. He's age 60 now. Sedan and France. Okay, these are places where he was born and lived. Okay, now let's get to the video. This is the same man speaking on Arthur Ashe. Okay, let's play. I can't see the words; it's too small. I was born in Richmond. Okay, I guess. Hold it. Stop. I can't see it. I hope your brothers and sisters can read along with it, because it's a short video. It's 3 minutes long, but he's making a point on how Arthur Ashe influenced him. Mm-hmm. Okay, he said since the very beginning. I can't see that. I can't see it. It's too small. Since the very beginning, he had been denied access to the tennis courts. Go ahead. I was a sport. I can't see it.
It said
I can't see
it was not a sport for black men.
Okay, go ahead.
He fought for years just to gain access.
He's talking about Arthur Ashe. Stay with me, brothers and sisters.
Tennis became professional. Well, let's move professional. Hold on.
It became professional in 1968. I think I saw the date.
The year he won his first title at Forest Hills.
Okay, this is talking about Arthur Ashe. Go ahead. So you see, he was in Life magazine. Slow it down, brothers.
It's unbelievable because at that time,
go ahead.
People said that Arthur Ashe was too white
because he was playing tennis. Because they were saying that's a white man's game. Mm-hmm. Go ahead. This is the man here that pause it. That man that you just saw there, that's Yanni. I mean, that's
Yannick Noah.
Yannick Noah.
Yannick Noah.
So, right.
So it said people said that Arthur Ashe was too white.
Go ahead.
He was just trying to earn the right to take part in competitions.
Go ahead.
Arthur. Then it says Arthur had a brilliant career.
Go ahead.
He was ranked as the world #1, won 3 Grand Slam titles.
Do you see that? The black man was winning titles all over the damn planet. Go ahead.
He won his first U.S. Open title at Forest Hills.
Go ahead.
US Open
All
à Forest
praises.
Hills. Il a gagné en Australie
He won in Australia.
Go ahead.
et Wimbledon.
And, of course, at Wimbledon, his biggest win.
Now that was Jimmy Connors there. Some of y'all that's in tennis, y'all probably know who this guy was. He was he played an Edomite during that time, and he beat him. Go ahead.
Ce qui est son plus gros tournoi.
He said that was his biggest win.
Il avait ce côté fou.
He had that cool side when he was playing.
He had that cold side when he
Cold
was playing.
side,
That's
yeah.
good. I mean, he wasn't emotional. He just knew how to whip butt. Go ahead.
Right.
Go ahead.
Sur le terrain qui était impressionnant.
And it made him look really impressive.
Go ahead.
On avait vraiment l'impression qu'on
He gave the impression that he was untouchable.
Here's a black man playing tennis, and people thought he was untouchable because he was so good at it. Go ahead.
n'avait jamais à le toucher. C'était un
Actually, he was a
He
warrior.
was a warrior. And you're going to find out that it ain't just was sports either. Go ahead.
sa raquette, c'était un peu son arme.
His racket was like a weapon.
Go ahead.
Il était élégant.
He was elegant.
Il arrivait sur le court déjà.
That was his advantage.
Il était plus beau.
He was just more handsome.
Il imposait vraiment.
Because of his game and his talent, he was respected.
Go ahead.
Le respect, la classe. C'était la classe.
He was just classy.
Arthur Ashe était,
Arthur Ashe was more than a champion.
Go ahead.
il était plus qu'un champion. Et c'est vraiment.
He really was the
Archetype,
archetype of the athlete.
meaning that he was the embodiment of what an athlete should be. Go ahead.
De l'athlète qui était plus grand que son sport.
Who was bigger than his sport.
So they made a statue of him. A lot of people didn't even know that. Probably. Go ahead.
Arthur Ashe était bien
Arthur Ashe was much bigger than tennis.
au tennis. Quoi.
That's the point. He was much bigger than tennis. That's what we want to talk about. He was much bigger than tennis. Go ahead.
Premier centre de tennis.
He was the
c'est
first
celui qui a-
implement tennis courts. He was the first to implement tennis courts in underprivileged neighborhoods.
Stop right there.
Wow.
You see that? So he not only he wasn't just about himself. He said, "You know what? I want to do something for my people that are underprivileged." Go ahead.
Il a créé ça. Il y a des centaines de milliers de gamins.
Thousands of kids had been able to play tennis thanks to him.
Go ahead.
Il a laissé ça.
That's the trace he left. He inspired and still inspires me.
Je me suis inspiré de ça. Moi, c'est ça que je veux
That is the trace I want to leave.
laisser. C'est ça qui me motive.
That is what motivates me today. When I see kids in the northern Marshfield,
Marcel, right, go ahead.
Marcel,
Un gamin à Marseille ou à Vaux-en-Velin.
in Vaux, in Villain, or in, man, I can't pronounce that one there, La
Yeah. Lacombe. I can't.
Convia.
Well, but these are areas
But they know what I'm
in
talking
France.
about.
So I imagine that's what he's talking about. In
Yes.
areas of where he's talking about. Go ahead.
La Courneuve, je ne peux pas savoir comment.
You cannot imagine how proud I feel.
C'est un bonheur.
This is pure happiness.
Je savais
I knew that Arthur was attending my final game at Roland Garros.
que lors de ma finale, Arthur était là parce qu'en fait, il commentait
He was doing the commentary for the match
le match pour une chaîne américaine.
and on American TV channel.
So that's the brother playing. That's Yannick Noah there, who was inspired by Arthur Ashe. Go ahead.
Quand j'ai joué,
When I was playing,
j'étais habitué.
I was possessed.
Pour que je gagne, il fallait qu'il
To
fasse-
win, the weather had to be nice, and it was nice.
beau, il a fait beau. Pour que je gagne, il fallait
To win, I needed to play at home, and I was playing at home on my field.
que ce soit chez moi. J'étais sur mon terrain. Il fallait absolument que je gagne. C'est
I had to win.
pas.
Not only for me,
C'était juste pour.
but for all of us.
Une fois qu'on m'a remis le.
Right after I received the trophy, Arthur Ashe interviewed me. You cannot imagine how proud I felt.
Comment j'étais fier. 11 ans avant,
11 years before that,
il me
he
donne
gave me my first racket in Yasham. However you pronounce that.
à Yaoundé. Il y a personne sait où c'est.
Nobody knew where Yavin
Yeah,
was.
we still don't. Some of us
Right.
still don't.
His
But that's
story-
all right. We're gonna find out. We're gonna find out.
Right. His
Go ahead.
story is bound to mine.
Lié à la mienne. Dans le livre de mon histoire.
In my life story, there's Off the Ashe.
Et on a gagné.
And together we won.
I guess that's it, right? That might be it.
Fais ce que
Okay.
tu aimes.
All right. That's it on that.
Do
Now,
what you like, but
Okay.
do it right.
right. Well, we'll go ahead and play the rest of it out since it's there. You know, let it just
Mais
end.
en tout cas, fais le bien.
All right.
Et ça, c'était Arthur.
That was Arthur.
C'était
Okay.
mon héros.
He was my hero.
All right. Now, I don't want anybody to get sidetracked and say, "Why are we bigging up Arthur instead of Christ and the people of the Bible?" I'm not doing that. What I'm showing you is that whenever we had inspirational people in our nation, things all of a sudden just went wrong, and that's what I want to talk about. So I wanted to give you a little bit of a little bit of the background of this brother, because you don't hear much about him. And there may be some things that some people may say about him. I don't know everything about him, but I know in certain aspects of his life it was impressionable. So now let's play this here. Now what I'm gonna do now is show you that I'm gonna let this part of the video play. This is called Arthur Ashe, More Than a Champion. So this is coming off of what we just saw. Play that, and I'm gonna let the video speak. Now this one is in English, so y'all can just listen.
And he wrote 3 volumes of A Hard Road to Glory, a history of the African-American athlete, and his autobiography, Days of Grace.
So he wrote it. Pause it. So he wrote his autobiography before he died, of course. That's called Days of Grace. So this is what he's talking about. Go ahead.
Ashe was making an impact now.
Arthur wrote a wonderful editorial in the New York Times. It was basically a message to the parents of young black athletes and said, get your kids out of the gym and into the library. I worked with him on researching that, and we figured out the number.
So y'all heard a part in there where he said that he wanted he sent. See, I got to back it up. There was something that he said there. He had wrote. Back it up a little bit. I'm sorry, brothers.
It was basically a message to the parents in the New York Times.
He wrote an editorial in the New York Times to the parents of underprivileged kids. That's what he's saying. Go ahead.
To the parents of young black athletes and said, get your kids out of the gym and into the library. I worked with him on researching that, and we figured out the number of athletes in the United States that make their living in playing sports. It was about 2,000 at the time. And then you say, how many lawyers are there? And how many doctors are there? And your statistical chance of making a living and becoming a success were much greater in the library than on the sports field.
So pause it, because that was a heavy statement there. He said, listen, how many sports figures that can actually live off of the sports? And he said about 2,000. So he said, well, what happens to the rest of them? He said, that's the reason why you cannot depend on sports. That's his part. That was Arthur Ashe talking. That was the editorial that he had written to I think it was the New York Times. I think that's what he said. To the hope to reach the parents of underprivileged children and so forth, to encourage them to not just depend on sports, but learn how to be lawyers, learn how to be doctors, engineers, things of this nature, because we need all of those things, not just sports figures. This was Arthur Ashe talking, and he was an athlete. So that's letting you know that he's not just athletic in his mind in terms of just running up and down the tennis court. He was more of a thinker than that, and that's the point. But I'm going to show you something as we keep on playing. I know it's just eating up a lot of time, but I just had to bring these points out. Go ahead.
That was his sensible philosophy.
I was privileged to be mayor of New York City. In 1990, when Nelson Mandela was released from prison, And he came first to the United States, first came to New York. First place he visited outside of South Africa when he was released from prison. And among the people he wanted to meet was Arthur Ashe. And I like to believe that because of them and others, I was successful in attaining the mayorship of New York City. And we say often, everybody stands on somebody's shoulders. Arthur is a very special human being, an architect or an engineer or a lawyer who is black will do better because Arthur Ashe existed.
So the point that he's making there, he's letting you know that even the mayor of New York, David Dinkins, that's who that was, for those of us that may not know. I don't know if everybody knows that or not. They should know. It's the most famous city in the planet. He was the mayor of it. So he's saying that Arthur Ashe was the somewhat of the inspiration for him to do that, you know. So that's what you're looking at here. So go on. I'm going to let the rest of it play out.
But now that very existence was threatened again. After the heart problems came something else.
He fainted a couple times, and we thought he had a brain tumor. We sent him into New York Hospital. They did all these tests. I mean, I said, God, it's great. You don't have a brain tumor. It's fantastic. I was all excited, you know. And she said, Jeannie said, well, you know, but Arthur has something he wants to tell you. And the doctor was there, and me and my wife, and just four of us. And Arthur said, yes, the doctors tell me, Donald, that I have AIDS. That's what they say, but I don't believe it. I don't have AIDS. He got AIDS in the second operation in the Harlem hospital from tainted blood. Wow. But he didn't have HIV positive. He had full-blown AIDS in the fourth stage when they found it.
There was a very quiet conspiracy.
Pause it. You just can't let that go by. Such an inspiration to young kids, such an inspiration to the underprivileged, who wasn't just about sports. He was about trying to build black men up, underprivileged kids up. And then he goes into a hospital for the second time, and he ends up getting blood that is loaded with full-blown AIDS. Coincidence, huh? Go ahead.
AIDS in the fourth stage when they found it.
There was a very quiet conspiracy among people who knew Arthur that there was a possibility. And because of the respect for Arthur and the respect for his privacy, because they knew he was a very private person, nobody said anything.
The HBO family, I call us, even though we worked at television.
She was a tennis player for those of Billie Jean King.
We knew for 4 years that he had HIV, and he never knew we knew until that moment when he was outed. And I told him, I said, Arthur, do you realize that we've known at HBO for 4 years that you have AIDS? He said, no way. I said, way? I said, yes, we've known, but we knew your privacy was so important to you. It was terrible not being able to talk to him about it for 4 years and knowing he was struggling.
The story was about to break. It was just that Arthur didn't know his secret was about to be revealed.
He was covering for HBO during this time, so I used to see him all the time at Wimbledon particularly. And I always felt that it seemed to have something that he might want to tell me, but he didn't.
So pause it. He worked for USA Today. Okay, that's who this black reporter was. Go ahead.
And so we didn't talk about it. And shortly afterwards, that's when I got the call from someone and indicated that this was the case. Now, journalists, you get calls from everybody, and you might get crank calls, and etc. This was not a crank call. This was someone I knew, and I knew it was important, and I did make the decision that this is something that I have to follow.
Arthur himself said he understood why, as journalists, once we had this account, that we felt obligated to check it. And actually, I don't know that I could ever say he was pleased that we came to him, but I think he understood and appreciated that the first place we went was to him.
And then he said, why did you come here? It was the first time that I'd seen him as angry as he was. He was really angry with me. And I said, Arthur, because it's my job, and I didn't want anyone else doing my job.
Arthur gave me a telephone call and said, tomorrow I'm going to have to tell the world I have AIDS. It's a day I dreaded, and of course it's a day he dreaded, not necessarily because of him, but because of Jeannie and Camera.
I have known since the time of my brain operation in September 1988 that I have AIDS. It was transmitted through a blood transfusion after one of my open heart bypass operations. In all likelihood, the second operation in 1983.
What he felt was that as a result of this, people would treat him like a leper, that they wouldn't want to touch him, that they wouldn't want to be around him. And he was concerned about how they would also react to his wife and his kid.
Just as I am sure everyone in this room has some personal matter that he or she would like to keep private, so did we. There was certainly no compelling medical or physical necessity to go public with my medical condition.
You know, he was not in a good place. I talked to him 5 minutes before that conference. I was on the phone with him 5 minutes before you see him speaking. He said, I've really been ratted out, and I'm upset. And I said, I'm so sorry, that you're not able to do it in your own terms.
And only now, in the face of something in his life that he could not control, did the unflappable Arthur falter.
Cameron already knows just read that paragraph one.
Camera already knows.
He really was upset. I mean, he couldn't even finish speaking. In that press conference, Jeannie had to get up and finish his words that he had written. So that was a very difficult a time for him.
I was having a tough time, but he gave me a phone call. He said, just want to check on you to make sure you're doing okay, make sure that you're not still concerned about this. And about a day or two after that, Jeannie called and she said, we love you. So, they were concerned about me, and obviously he's the one who's dying here. But that was just, again, a different man. Rare.
And so began the last chapter. Arthur summoned what remained of his strength, and in his own way, quietly, but with that steely determination that had made him the very best on the tennis court, he carried on the fight. His fight, to the end.
Almost 3 or 4 months after he made the announcement, he formed the Arthur Ashe Foundation for the Defeat of AIDS. And during that time, he raised $5 to $10 million. People were contributing all over. And the most important thing, I think, is that he helped people with AIDS to deal with the rejection, to let them know that he has it too, and you don't have to go into a shell. He was pretty active in doing that.
I asked Arthur, what's the most difficult thing for you? He said, Billy, because I didn't know if it was the AIDS or if it was or being of color. I didn't know. And he said, the toughest thing for me is being a black man.
Wow.
'Cause every time I step out of the apartment, because he lived in New York, I know that maybe the taxi's going to pass me up when I need a ride because of my color. He said every day he feels discrimination because of his color. And he said, I feel that has been my most difficult journey, even more difficult than the HIV/AIDS journey.
Did y'all hear that?
That's heavy.
That's heavy. With all of that stuff that he went through, what was worse than all of that was to face the virulent hatred that America lays upon us as black men. So he done went through AIDS. He done went through the blood that was being transfused to him. How in the world did that happen? He got dirty blood, and they just put it in him. They should have checked all that stuff out. Now, I know somebody gonna be like, "Well, they wasn't really checking for AIDS back then." Yes, they were, because you had ACTA that said that they were going to give blood because they weren't getting certain kinds of help from treatment from the government. So they already knew that this thing was was a big deal back then. So how in the world did they just slip up? And Harlem Hospital is a quote unquote black city hospital. I know it well. I was in that hospital a few times when I was young, so I know that hospital. How in the world did they allow that to happen to him? So I ain't gonna get into that because I know it was not just black hands behind that thing. So I'm gonna just leave that to the side. But that just lets you know there's another example of some of the evils that comes upon us when we try to do something in the right spirit. Y'all wanted to say something real quick? Y'all look like y'all pointing at the mic. Everybody just stunned?
Yeah.
Y'all just stunned at that, right? I ain't done yet. We about to move on into the lesson. Give me the other video because this was another part of how this man was. Yeah, somebody wrote the same thing happened to Eazy-E. Same thing, you know. So that, just like, hey, I'm gonna throw this at y'all. Muhammad Ali, all of a sudden, boom, something happened because he was outspoken. I saw it in the comments. Eazy-E, I saw that. What's the brother name from Nation of Islam? Khalid Muhammad. Man was healthy as hell. All of a sudden, he dies of a brain aneurysm. It's just things to think about. Now I'm gonna put it on the other side. Byron Della Beckworth. A lot of people don't even know who I'm talking about. He was the man that killed Medgar Evers. What did he die of? Natural causes. Nobody put his ass to death. Nobody got him sick. I'm just showing you. just stuff to think about. Johnny Cochran, the brother, somebody just put down. I just see this here on the comments. Johnny Cochran. That's another example. You got to look at these things. If it walked like a duck, swim like a duck, it's a duck.
You know.
Okay, go ahead.
Even when you say like Muhammad Ali, for an example, you know, Michael J. Fox had the same disease.
Look at that.
Right.
See,
had the same disease.
I knew I was gonna get y'all to perk up in there.
And he's still acting today.
See that? So,
but Muhammad Ali went to a complete vegetable.
Right, exactly. You see that? They go talk about he was punched, drunk, all that madness. BS. No. Now, give me the last video. The last video on him, and then I'm going to change the subject a little bit. We're going to go into some other stuff. The subject ain't going to really change, but that's going to be it for Arthur Ashe. It's getting ready to get real hot. So I know y'all endured what I was showing y'all with these videos, but it's getting ready to heat up now.
Well, I will say this.
Go ahead.
Quick. With Arthur Ashe, I'm glad you're bringing this out to the forefront.
All praises.
You was right at the beginning of this. A lot of us didn't know about this. I know I didn't. So I've seen Arthur Ashe playing tennis. So I figured, yeah, he was a black man dominating in his sport of tennis. Of course, you know.
You know how we do,
right? That's what we do. You know. But I never had a clue about this. And as you see, even it being private, he wanted to keep it private. But I never knew this was really going on with him like that, you know. So it's kind of a mind blower and definitely an inspiration to me knowing more about what he was about, not just tennis, because we always look at the sports as being, you know, motivational movements for black folks, you know, achievements and stuff like that. But like you said, it was bigger than tennis,
right?
You know?
But it shows, and I think, you know, what Deacon's pointing out is that these people used their influence, you know, because of what his status was to benefit his people. You know, the same way Muhammad Ali was outspoken, the same way you see Arthur Ashe, they had a knack for civil rights.
Right.
Because they knew that the position that they was in, they wasn't there for themselves. They was there to help the other brothers.
Right. That's exactly why I played the video. Thank you, brother. Right. So everybody know the reason why I took y'all through this long journey, to let y'all know that they use their platform for bigger than the sport itself. And incidentally, the very next video going to point that out. See, you didn't know I was going to play that.
Jesse Owens, too.
Exactly.
Right.
Jesse Owens.
Exactly.
He went over there to Germany and threw up the black fist. Go ahead, Deke. I'm sorry.
Okay. Yeah, no problem. All right. Put up the next video. The next video. Not this one. Is that it? Okay, right.
Thanks for staying up later. The tennis great Arthur Ashe is with us tonight, and it certainly doesn't seem like 22 years ago, but the calendar tells us that it is, that you won the U.S. Open in 1968. Was that or Wimbledon in 75 your biggest victory?
It was at the time, although emotionally I had a larger victory when I was 18 in Charlottesville, Virginia, at the University of Virginia. when I won the USTA National Interscholastics, the National High School Championships. And my tennis coach always wanted one of his pupils to win that tournament. And when I did 9 years after he had started entering his pupils in it, it was a very satisfying win for me. But yes, the U.S. Open in '68 was very big, and it was a crazy year.
You win the U.S. Open. It's interesting, that was at a time when there was a legitimate amateur professional distinction. Right. So the first prize money goes to Tom Ocker, the guy you defeated in the final.
That's right.
And then you're asked to go on Face the Nation. And what do they want to talk to you about? Obviously, they didn't want you on the same way they'd want Tom Ocker on if he had won.
No. I thought it was interesting.
Wait a minute. Did they say that the prize money went to the loser?
Mm-hmm.
Is that what I heard?
Prize money, yep.
Back that up. Because after that, he was called to go to Face the Nation. I had to replay it in my mind and say, wait a minute, did I just miss that? Play that again. This is some of the racism that our people was fighting back in those times.
It's interesting. That was at a time when there was a legitimate amateur professional distinction. Right. So the first prize money goes to Tom Ocker, the guy you defeated in the final.
That's right.
And then you're asked to go on Face the Nation. And what do they want to talk to you about? Obviously, they didn't want you on the same way. Stop.
Wow. You got to let that sink in. You beat the man in the tennis match, and they give the prize money to the white man that you beat.
Wow.
And then they say, you go on Face the Nation and talk about it.
Wow.
That's why he said that his life as a black man is worse than having AIDS.
Wow.
Damn. Go ahead.
Interesting. That was at a time when there was a legitimate amateur professional distinction. Right. So the first prize money goes to Tom Ocker, the guy you defeated in the final.
That's right.
And then you're asked to go on Face the Nation. And what do they want to talk to you about? Obviously, they didn't want you on the same way they'd want Tom Ocker on if he had won.
Pause it. He said, now if the white boy would have won, he would have won on Face the Nation with the money and all. There would have been a whole beautiful thing. But now they're asking him to go up there, knowing that they gave the money to the damn loser, and then they want him to speak in front on camera. Wow. Go ahead.
I thought it was interesting that I was the first athlete asked to be on the show, which I did from Los Angeles during a tournament right after the U.S. Open, that first Open. And we talked about politics, race relations, the role of people like myself who were postured as opinion leaders, people who can influence others to act or do certain things certain ways.
There's no real prejudice on the Davis Cup team. When I say real, nothing that really applies to me personally, other than just institutionalized segregation or prejudice against all black people in general in the U.S. But there are only there's 7 team members, 1 captain, 1 trainer. We get along famously, and I go out with him socially all the time. And my best friend's white. And sounds funny to turn it around.
Some of your best friends are whites.
Right. My best friend is one of my Davis Cup teammates. And,
so pause it, because I know a lot of people got thrown off the bus with that one. Back it up again. Because, again, he's speaking to issues that are beyond him. He said, personally, I don't have an issue with the people that I work with, but in this whole spectrum, black people are catching hell.
Right.
And the reason why they called him to Face the Nation after he was robbed of the money, they said, we want you to talk about that robbery. So I didn't see the actual Face the Nation, so I don't know the full context of this clip that they're running, but I'm just trying my best to piece it together. So back it up again and let that play, brothers and sisters.
In the U.S., segregation or prejudice against all black people in general in the U.S. But there are only... There's 7 team members, 1 captain, 1 trainer. We get along famously.
All right, stop it there.
And I go out with him.
Stop it there. I wanted the part before that, a little bit before that, but that's okay. I think we got the point. Now, with all of that being said, I want to go back to the part when they were sitting in the chair. Back it up. Because I didn't really want that part. I wanted this part here. When he was asked about after he got robbed of his... No, go forward. Play it. Just hit it. We'll fix it up.
Time when there was a legitimate amateur professional distinction. So the first prize money goes to Tom Ocker, the guy you defeated in the final.
That's right.
And then you're asked to go on Face the Nation. And what do they want to talk to you about? Obviously, they didn't want you on the same way they'd want Tom Ocker on if he had won.
I thought it was interesting that I was the first athlete asked to be on the show, which I did from Los Angeles during a tournament right after the U.S. Open, that first Open. And we talked about politics.
We talked about politics. Muhammad Ali talked about politics and race relations. I want y'all to see the correlation. Go ahead.
Relations. The role of people like myself who were postured as opinion leaders, people who can influence others to act or do.
Opinion leaders, people that can influence. Now we're talking about why they talk about Nick Cannon, because these people are in prominent areas where when they speak, millions of people hear them. So they wanted to see what was in his mind before he get too loose. Let's bring him on camera to see how he feels about this obvious incident of racism.
Because I think the guy he beat was a pro. So he was still an amateur at the time. So they was testing the water before they put him all the way out there.
There you go. That's something else. See that? Go ahead.
Certain things, certain ways.
There's no real prejudice on the Davis Cup team. When I say real, nothing that really applies to me personally, other than just institutionalized segregation or prejudice against all black people in general in the U.S.
You see that? He said it's institutional racism. He said, don't focus on me particularly in tennis. Racism is an institutional business, basically, that affects black people all over. Go ahead.
But there are only there's 7 team members, 1 captain, 1 trainer. We get along famously, and I go out with him socially all the time. And my best friend's white. And sounds funny to turn it around.
Some of your best friends are white.
Right. My best friend is one of my Davis Cup teammates, and they don't care who I date or who I go out with or where I go, and we do things together, and there's no apparent prejudice in our team at all. As I say, tennis is different.
How about the black American public? Do you find that any of them regard you in a sense as an Uncle Tom? Because
yes, quite a few. And possibly justifiably so in some instances, and possibly not justified in some instances.
1968, obviously you're the only prominent black player on the circuit, and black athletes are making statements. Muhammad Ali, at that point, is in exile because he wouldn't go to Vietnam. Shortly after the 68 U.S. Open, Smith and Carlos, or right around that same time, would have the clenched fist salute at the Olympics in Mexico City. Did you feel as if you were doing enough?
No. And the standard was not Tommy Smith or John Carlos or a combination. The standard was Ali. Because Ali in 67 at the Houston Induction Center refused to cross the line, symbolic of entering the United States Army voluntarily. And he had what most of us felt were muddy reasons at the time. He had converted to Islam. He was a Muslim minister, but most people really didn't believe him. And as was told in Bob Woodward's book and Scott Armstrong about the Brethren, when the Supreme Court justices first looked at the Ali case at that level, they turned him down summarily. And it was Justice Harlan's clerk who convinced his boss that, hey, Ali is dead serious. This guy's honest about it. And eventually it turned around.
So let me say this here, because this thing could get rather long, and I don't want to get too winded into just playing out whole videos. Around this time, you had riots that was going on all over the country. Okay, so that's one of the reasons why Muhammad Ali said, and I'm not going over there to fight over there. We got problems over here. Mm-hmm. So that's what's going on with most of the black athletes, some of them that had a conscience that was about trying to deal with the situations that was going on at that time. And just so you can look at even situations like today, when you had, what's the brother that took the knee? Colin Kaepernick. Right. He was protesting. He was basically trying to do what you see going on here. Okay, and using his platform to bring attention to something that was being systematically ignored and institutionally ignored. So he said, well, I'm going to use my platform, just like what Arthur was saying, we're going to use our platform to speak on racial issues and things of that nature. So I just wanted to get those pieces out there, okay? So that's letting you know what type of mind that this brother was in, Okay, not only was about tennis, he was about dealing with the issues that was going on with our people around that time. I know this is like out of generation with our people. A lot of people that's not really connected with the 60s and the 70s and these, but these are the kinds of things that was going on. You got a scripture?
No, I was just saying we're not far removed from that.
Right.
And what we see today is what they valued was the prosperity of their community as a whole. And like between 60 something, that's Malcolm X, that's Martin Luther King,
exactly,
Black Panthers,
exactly. The move,
we when we say Zephaniah 2:1, gather yourselves together. They did what they could with the means that they had, but you see today, it's not the same.
No,
they don't have that same zeal for the so-called Israelite community as they should.
Exactly. And then you got these preachers today, because I ain't forgot about them. I'm going to get them. These daggone preachers trying their best to crush this truth.
Right.
Because the master rang that red phone and said, listen, these Israelites are waking up. We need you to get on the horn and start trying to debunk the Israelites. So we're going to talk about that a little later on. Before we go to the break real quick, I want to show an article. Put my article up there. I want to show this article. I just want to show the title. Nope. The article. There's a hold on. The COVID-19 article. I just want to show that COVID-19. You should back it up. You shouldn't be that far. It should be before all of that. Go forward, like near the beginning, because I put it in order. Okay, those are the pictures. What about the article? I sent an article on COVID-19. I just want to read the title, then I want to show a video. Continue to click through it. Maybe I didn't send it to you. I did send it because I reposted it. It might be at the end. Go down to the end. Go to the back. Go to the last, one of the last ones. Lord have mercy.
And while they're looking for that, I was just, when you saw Face the Nation. So I look at it, too, as, here it is, Face the Nation was actually a big, prominent, and speak just what it says, Face the Nation, right? So it was a big news show that was pretty prominent at the time, and it was one of the longest running news show on the air. So I could see them putting Arthur Ashe in that position, like you said, Officer Eli, to kind of test the waters and see where his mind was at, even being in moving in the success that he was moving into as an amateur. You see what I'm saying? So they was already seeing if he's going to be one of those good old boys. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. See if he's going to be one of them good old boys. So, and obviously you see when he went on there and he said, even his own people were probably, looking at him as such as a coon.
Okay, I just put it up there.
And I can see that happening, being that because not just him per se, but playing the sports of tennis, being that this is supposed to be a so-called white man sport. But go ahead, Deke.
All right, all praise. Now I'm going to show this, then we're going to go to the break. Show that. Because we're getting ready to take a turn, but I still want you to keep certain elements of what we showed you earlier. A COVID-19 vaccine will work only if trials include black participants, experts say.
Wow.
Let me look at that again. A COVID-19 vaccine will work only if trials, meaning clinical trials, include clinical trials is basically guinea pigs, so you can understand. Mm-hmm. Okay? If trials include black participants, experts say. Okay? So let's take a break and we'll come back to this because I'm about to go into another subject. All right? Brothers and sisters, we'll be back after these words. Stay tuned.
Emergency alert. This is not a test. Repeat, this is not a test. Blacks and Latinos colonized and enslaved, scattered throughout the earth, are indeed the 12 tribes of the nation, Israel, according to the Holy Bible. The United States of America is Babylon the Great. It only has a very limited time of existence. And Black Lives Matter has nothing to do with black people. It's a branch of the LGBT community, and they're about to introduce NAMBLA, the North American Man-Boy Love Association. All donations to that organization help fund the Democratic National Committee. The media is controlled by the Central Intelligence Agency and Council of Foreign Relations.
Control exactly what people think and is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
They've manipulated the theme that the police should be defunded and disbanded for the purpose of chaos to bring in the National Guard. COVID-19 was created and manipulated in the United States and sent to Wuhan, China. It was manipulated by splicing animal DNA with human fetal tissue, according to Revelation chapter 6, verse 8. Christ is our King, the Black Messiah, and he will soon come and return, bringing the powers of heaven and destroy Babylon's space force, according to Habakkuk chapter 3 and verse 14. These are the last days, brothers and sisters. We must prepare ourselves for deliverance by keeping the commandments and gather ourselves together as the Israelites. Zephaniah chapter 2, verse 1.
Shalom. This is Bishop Nathaniel of Israel United in Christ. I want to start off by saying thank you to all of our Booster Club members for your many donations and much more, your prayers. We visited faraway countries and strange lands. We've even spoken to dignitaries and were detained for spreading the glorious gospel in Cuba. The truth is that the descendants of the 12 tribes of Israel were scattered throughout the world. Help us on our journey as we continue to raise up the nation of Israel. 12 tribes worldwide. Join or donate today. Shalom.
We used to scream black power while heroin was pushed. But at the end of the day, nothing's in vain. IUIC has been given a vision. The tents of Judah has risen. Many has attempted the mission. Minor murmuring, omitting, and missing the mark. Just reading that he had the flame of fire in his eyes gave us the spark. We on Paul's mission. We out on the road. Purple and gold. From Mexico, Cuba, Haiti, Ghana, Sierra Leone. 144,000 boots banging, concrete crackling. These are how men repented at heart. The scriptures is proof. IUIC, we deliver the truth.
All praise to the Most High. We're back. We're going to get right into it with time running. Put my article back up there, brothers. Put my article back up there because we're getting ready to get into it. This is out of the, I guess this is NBC News. They say that this is their article. A COVID-19 vaccine will work only if trials include black participants, experts say. But then let's read what it says into the article. It says the reason I hear African Americans will not participate are heartbreaking, says this person, and disappointing. I've heard about the Tuskegee Experiment a lot. So one of the reasons why our people are not, as indicated in this article, as to the reason why a lot of our people will not just subject themselves or subject ourselves to a COVID-19 vaccine is because of the history of what happened during Tuskegee. Now, I'm going to show you something. Let's go to the video. Now, I'm going to come back to this article. Let's go to the video. Watch this. Now, get it from the very beginning. Go to the very beginning. What? Okay, let's get it set. I hope we tested it because I need this thing to play. Did y'all test it? Okay, let's make sure this thing works. These are one of the things that I pulled off the archives as brothers and sisters. Some of the people in IUIC know they man with all the tapes and such and such. Okay, just hold on, hang on. We about to get it. Let's see if we can 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 get it. Are y'all having trouble? Y'all need a thumb drive again? It's gone. Okay, here. Give that to him. Don't move it. Just play it directly from the drive. That way you won't lose it. Maybe somehow. Just bear with us, brothers and sisters. That's it right there. Just play that. This is Diane Sawyer from I forget what, ABC or NBC News. This was recorded off of TV about, like I said, 30 years ago.
And Sawyer.
Good evening. Back in the 1940s, when Nazi doctors went on trial for experiments on humans, the world first heard a term called research crime. But most of us, of course, were convinced it could never happen here. Well, tonight, we're going to take you back 60 years to Alabama, where 412 men were singled out for research by the U.S. Public Health Service. At the time, syphilis was raging. Some people could withstand the disease, particularly with treatment, but others died a horrible death. And we'll never know how many from that research group of men could have been saved, as you'll see when Jay Shadler confronts the sole remaining director of the Tuskegee Experiment.
Have you ever had even one single moment of moral doubt about what you did?
Moral doubt? Not really.
It began before most of us were born. It was 1932, and the government was on a crusade to stamp out syphilis in the rural South, a disease that caused blindness, madness, and sometimes death.
Y'all can turn it up a little bit.
Days of syphilis are numbered. Syphilis will be the next great plague to go.
Crude chemical treatments were being used with some success. But to better understand the disease, doctors from the Public Health Service wanted to know what would happen if syphilis went untreated. They needed human subjects, and in Macon County, Alabama, they found what they were looking for.
Pause
High
it.
rate of syphilis.
Pause it. So they said that they needed human subjects that would allow to be injected with syphilis and to not be treated. That's what I want y'all to understand, that, because you're going to find out later on that it didn't just happen to black men. Go ahead.
And a population that had never been treated. Over the next 40 years, government doctors would make sure 412 of these men never would be. They were the sons and grandsons of slaves, like this man, Charlie Pollard, scratching out a living on a sharecropper's farm.
We have raised cotton all my life, and velvet beans, corn, peas. Used to raise a lot of that.
Today, Charlie Pollard is 85 and one of just 27 survivors of the Tuskegee Experiment. We met him in the same church where doctors first enlisted him into their study.
Why don't you think there were any white people involved in the experiment?
Well, Anyhow, they're just doing something with the colored people.
Did they ever tell you that you had syphilis?
No. No.
Stop. How evil that is. They never told him that he had syphilis, so you won't even seek treatment. Because they were using these brothers as guinea pigs. Go ahead. This is the reason why. Listen to me. Like I said, these no good preachers that's against this truth. You know our people went through all kinds of hell in this country, and you ain't saying a damn thing. Ain't saying nothing. You busy trying to crush the truth that's bringing out the evil that's going on with our people, and you ain't saying a damn thing in your pulpit. You busy trying to stop the Israelites. You ain't saying nothing about all of this evil that the damn white man is telling you.
Right.
In his NBC and ABC programs. You ain't said a damn thing with your pulpit. The Lord, we got your card in this lesson. Go ahead.
Anyhow, they're just doing something with the colored people.
Did they ever tell you that you had syphilis?
No. No.
What did they tell you?
Bad blood. They said that.
Had you ever seen a doctor before this study began?
No, sir, not by any means.
Herman Shaw had been told he had bad blood too. Like the other men who were eventually lured into the experiment, he'd seen the handbills and heard the warnings by the Public Health Service.
Bad blood makes people sick. It destroys heart and brain.
So Herman Shaw came for a free medical checkup at his church.
Pause it. Stop. So they had radio, because you heard the radio announcement said, we're about to figure out and we're about to get rid of what is called bad blood. No such thing. Bad blood. And what they wanted to do was draw our people in and secretly inject them with syphilis and never tell them that they had syphilis and allow them to leave and cohabit with whomever they will and never were to be treated for syphilis. 412 black men. That's what they just told you in the beginning of this. So I'm going to pause the video there. I'm going to come back to this. Let's go to the article. I'm going to read this thing out the article. Let's go back to the article for a second. Don't move. Don't lose the space on that. We're coming back to that. Brothers and sisters, stay with me. Show it again. Show the article on the main screen. Let the title again, because I'm going to just read through it real quick. I'm going to be quick. A COVID-19 vaccine will work only if trials or clinical trials include black participants. Experts say we've been down this road before.
Right.
Are you kidding? And the person says the reasons I hear African Americans will not participate are heartbreaking. They ain't no damn heartbreaking. That's just common sense. We're scared to death. We live in fear. That's what I'm gonna read that. I'm gonna read that out the Bible. That's the reason why. So how in the world are you going to try to say that we're not the people of the Most High? We live under a oppressive, tyrannic state. Clearly. It says that the reasons that I hear African Americans will not participate are heartbreaking and disappointing. Disappointing to who? Are you kidding me? And I've heard, this is what they said, and I've heard about the Tuskegee Experiment a lot. Like you could just brush that off. You can't, that's not trivial. You just don't brush that off. So this is Dr. Nita Patel, Director of Antibiotic. I'm reading the article. Move on down. I'm going to read the article. I'm going to just read it. Dr. Nita Patel, Director of Antibody Discovery and Vaccine Development, lifts a vial of a potential coronavirus vaccine at Novavax Labs in Rockville, Maryland in March 2020. So now let's read into a little bit of this. We're going to get back to the video. Brothers and sisters, stay with me. Calethea Hodge has an artist's task. Her task is persuade black people who have a deep mistrust of experimental drugs and medical institutions to participate in clinical trials to help find a vaccine for the deadly coronavirus. Y'all see that on the screen, right? It's quite a paradox. African Americans have been disproportionately devastated by COVID-19. Wait a minute, let's talk about that. Black people have been disproportionately devastated by COVID-19. Are there other factors that contribute to these things, like poor health care? bad environmental conditions that this country put on us. We didn't ask for these things. You brought us here, robbed us, took everything from us, took our talents, raped us, robbed us, hung us, and then left us to rot in the ghettos. So then when certain realities come as a result of that, we are more prone to sickness. We are more prone to bad everything. Now all of a sudden you telling us that we need some damn so-called COVID-19 cure when the reasons why we're so disproportionately affected with it is because we've been put into that condition. Now all of a sudden you want to give us a cure, so-called cure. That's the reason why black people are mistrusting of those things, because Tuskegee already showed us about that. We ain't never going to forget that. You know, the so-called Jews don't forget their so-called Holocaust. Right. You want us to forget what happened to us. The hell with you. We ain't forgetting nothing.
They need guinea pigs again.
Exactly. So it says, where am I at? Let's go back to the article. It's quite a paradox. African Americans have been disproportionately devastated by COVID-19. But they are inadequately represented in human studies that would treat a disease that has claimed more than 106,000 lives in the United States. Almost a quarter of them were black, according to the study. Okay, that's why this is what the woman is saying. She said, and that's why I do what I do, said Hodges, a clinician at Infinite Clinical Labs outside Atlanta. Atlanta, wow. And that's why I am here, in this neighborhood that is predominantly African American. So her job is to try to persuade us to just ignore what we went through and just go and do these things anyway. The last piece that I'm going to read, and we're going to go back to the video. African American participation in the trial is critical. This is what they're saying. Medical experts have said. Researchers and pharmacogenetics, let me look at this word so I can pronounce it right. Pharmacogenic genetics, the science that studies how genetic factors affect reactions to drugs. Stress that medicines could produce different results based on race and genetic, social, economical, and environmental dynamics. They're telling you right there. They're saying that people are affected by race because your race is going to be the way how we get treated. Social, economical are some of the reasons why we're going to face disparities in healthcare, and environmental dynamics, drugs in our neighborhood, guns, things of this nature. All of these things translates into making us more prone to sicknesses. People have asthmatic situations because they can't get proper health care and things of that nature. Yes.
And it also says genetics, root word gene, gender.
Right.
Your gender can also play a part in how your body reacts to certain things. Gender. So you can't be a black man and say I'm a white woman.
Right.
Because you want to, because your body's going to react a certain way because you're a man.
Exactly. So now that we got that out of the way, let's go back to the video. Okay, we're picking up, this is one of the survivors, half survivor, I should say, because he's still ridden with the disease that was given to him by the government. Play on.
Chapel. That first exam was complimentary, but a price would be paid later as he was probed, tested, and deceived by an ever-changing corps of government doctors.
They never did tell us what they were treating us for. And on down through the years, somebody it leaked out that they were using us for guinea pigs.
They are nice people, but they just weren't educated. That doesn't mean they're dumb. They were just illiterate.
Dr. Sidney Olansky led the Tuskegee study from 1950 to 1955. At 77, he still practices medicine half days at his office in Atlanta.
Would this experiment have ever been conducted on a group of affluent white men?
I think it could have been if we'd had white men in the same general category. Say we got a bunch of hillbillies up in West Virginia that had a lot of syphilis.
You do experiments on blacks in Macon County. You talk about hillbillies. It sounds as if you'd like to do just experiments on the most vulnerable parts of the population.
Look at that devilish smile. Right.
Yeah. Well, I'm saying that because you have to have, in order to do the kind of study we were interested in, you had to have a bunch of people who were close, that you could reach, and who had syphilis. That was the key.
The other key was to keep the men in the study once they'd been recruited.
And how's your health now,
Real quick.
Mr. Johnson?
Pretty
Pause it. You heard that.
Real quick. So Arthur Ashe, he can stand up for his people.
Mm-hmm.
Muhammad Ali can stand up for his people,
Mhm.
and these things coincidentally happen to them.
Mm-hmm.
But this man admitted to practicing this disease on people, putting this
Right.
disease on people, but he's still out to practice being a doctor?
That's the connection.
Right.
That's nuts. That's
Okay.
wow.
That's
They
the
wicked,
evil.
the wicked
right.
being revealed.
Exactly. There you go, right there. And these black preachers ain't said a damn thing.
And I'm glad you said it, D, because I know that when we came back to this, that I heard that they came to the church. Started right there,
right,
with
They
the
was
church,
sitting in the pews doing an
Right.
interview.
In the church.
Where the hell's the preacher at?
Right.
This is the church where you got infected.
Damn.
Still going on today.
Right. And they said that and even still they kept them in distance so they can continue to monitor the
Right.
progress of syphilis without even telling them that they were injected with syphilis. Damn. That's some evil right there. Go ahead.
Pretty fair. I have a shortness at the breast.
Price Johnson recalls he was drawn into the experiment by doctors who used a parade of not-so-subtle enticements, from free food and car rides into town to medical care and cash.
We went to VA hospital. They give us $25.
That was pretty big money back then.
I know it was. It's good, big money.
Mr. Johnson, what was it exactly that they told you they wanted to do with you?
Didn't say. Now, I never questioned nobody about nothing. I just listened. Whatever they say, if I agree, they know it, and if I don't, they don't know it.
The fact that they were illiterate was helpful, too, because they couldn't read the newspapers. If they were not illiterate, as the things moved on, they might have been reading the newspapers and see what was going on.
Frankly, if they had been educated, sophisticated people, they wouldn't have stood for this.
That's right. Except that they got what they wanted. You see, one of the things about the rural black is that the one thing they fear is not to be buried decently.
Not only did the government doctors need these men when they were alive, they needed their bodies after they died for autopsies. But convincing the families to approve this final step in the experiment would not be easy. So another incentive was offered: burial insurance. $50 would cover the cost of a simple coffin, maybe a cemetery plot. Might not seem like much, but for men born and raised in poverty, it was more than enough. When did you pick out your burial plot? When did you do that?
Oh, long ago, my
Price Johnson, like nearly all the other men in the study, took the government up on its grim offer.
So this way, if the government was paying for the burial, you wouldn't have to.
They said they would.
They wouldn't have to pass the cost on to your own family.
That's the truth. That's what they said they would do. And I'm pinning on them.
We had an arrangement with the funeral directors that if we got the post, they got the money to bury him.
If you got the postmortem, the autopsy.
If we were able to do it. And they took out just some tissue. They were most interested in the heart, the brain, the liver.
Do you know what an autopsy is?
So pause it. These men had lives. Families. And their only interest that they saw in this black man was purely experimental. Even after they died, they wanted to do an autopsy and measure the effect of syphilis on the organs, and never to tell these men that they were injected with syphilis. This is the kind of country we live in. This is the hell that black people, the Israelites, are subjected to. Okay, you trying to tell me about some so-called 6 million? All the black people suffered this kind of mentality and real abuse. And it doesn't stop. It's still going on. And the preacher said nothing. Go ahead.
Exactly.
To the government doctors, the men were strictly clinical subjects, conveniently available whenever blood samples needed to be drawn or yearly physicals had to be given.
They looked forward to our coming, really. So we did. We looked them over and we took some blood. And we had a lot of fun while we were doing it.
I wound up staying in the bed about a week.
After the spinal tap?
That's it.
For the doctors, giving a spinal tap was a way to gauge the progression of the disease. For the men, it was an excruciating ordeal that they were told would help cure their bad blood.
The nurse was in front of me, was hanging on my head. There was one on each side of me.
Holding you?
Yeah.
Because of the pain.
Right. They didn't get no anesthesia for that.
They give us that spinal shot.
Most of the men that we talked to thought that they were actually being treated for their disease when they were getting the spinal taps.
No, that's a diagnostic test. Well, I don't know what they were told. They could have been. I mean, sometimes people will say things that they don't really mean or don't really believe in order to accomplish something they want.
These men trusted you.
Me? They hardly knew me.
They trusted the government doctors.
Yeah, that may be so. Yeah.
If nothing was done that was wrong here, morally or scientifically, why don't they trust you anymore?
Someone got them all heated up. They were easily swayed. They were like a pack of sheep, and they could have been talked into anything, I think.
You call them a pack of sheep. Like the government doctors used that to their advantage, didn't they?
In a way, yes, sure, in a way.
Having deceived the men into believing that they were being treated, the government now decided they should be kept from a possible cure. For by the early 1950s, penicillin was widely available. Thousands of syphilitics were given the new miracle drug, but not the men in the Tuskegee Experiment.
Come on, Joe.
For them, it was forbidden. Herman Shaw, for instance, had been advised by his local doctor to travel to Birmingham to receive a penicillin shot. But a government nurse tracked him down, saying, "You don't have any business up here."
I said, "Well, thank you." And so they gave me breakfast, put me on the first bus, and sent me back to Towson.
Let me pause in case any of y'all missed it. Penicillin had come out, which was the cure to syphilis. Okay, these men, somebody told him that, listen, there's a shot that you could take to get rid of this. Mm-hmm. He went to go get it, and a nurse from the government saw his name, said, no, he's one of the ones that we're experimenting with. So when he gets there, deny him the shot and send him back so that he can continue. First. Right. Give him breakfast first, but deny him the shot.
Wow.
Just imagine having that on your mind, of knowing that this is what's going on. This is how this government is treating you. So how in the world are we going to be comfortable in allowing you to give us a vaccine of COVID-19? I know they're going to call this, what they call it, misinformation and all that other stuff to try to say that we're against it. But who would trust them after this, after seeing this? And don't say that you tried to hide it. Oh, y'all exposing them to. We're exposing the people to the reality.
Right.
Something that you didn't do when you brought these men into the office. You didn't tell them what you was really injecting them with. That's the job of a leader. The preachers are supposed to be telling the people what the real deal is, especially if they know it. They have the Bible. They know what they're supposed to be teaching. They've heard us. They followed us. They know what the people need. Go ahead, play on with that thing. Let that thing roll.
Without any treatment?
I didn't get anything with supper and breakfast. That's all they gave me.
Once you had penicillin, why wasn't the option given to these men to use it?
Because if we had done that, then all the information we had up to that point would have been negated. That's all.
You basically substituted your judgment?
So he said, hold it. He said, listen, why didn't you give them the penicillin when you knew you had it? They said, we would have did that. All of what we're looking for would be wasted. So in other words, the hell with their lives. We need to keep this thing going because it's about us saving white folks. That's what it was really about. Because if the white people are getting penicillin, they needed to test it on us. That's what it is now. Go ahead.
All the information we had up to that point would have been negated. That's all.
You basically substituted your judgment for theirs?
My judgment? I didn't start the study. It was part of the job I had when I was put in charge of this lab.
But you were director of the studies for some very crucial years
For
when
5 years.
when penicillin was available. So you substituted your judgment, didn't you?
Well, don't you always as a physician?
It's easy for him as a doctor to say what should happen to these men. But if you were to ask him, if he had syphilis, would he have wanted not to be treated?
Tuskegee attorney Fred Gray has sued the government on behalf of the men who survived the experiments and the heirs of those who didn't.
When it comes home, it's a different situation than it is when it's someone else. We can always say what's better for someone else.
The government doctors would never have conceived of doing this experiment on themselves.
I don't know, but I just don't know.
How many doctors do you know who would have put up with this?
No, not many, of course. You know better than that. It's a trick question.
You wonder about a government like that, and you wonder about whether or not this could happen again.
Some people think that it has.
And on the front page of this black newspaper, it says, AIDS, a plot to destroy blacks. Then it talks about the Tuskegee Experiment haunts many African Americans.
For the past year, Dr. Stephen Thomas and Sandra Quinn, researchers at the University of Maryland at College Park, have been running AIDS education programs in public housing projects and church basements. In a 5-city survey, they found that the legacy of distrust bred at Tuskegee now clouds the public debate about the origins of AIDS.
Roughly a third, 35%, of the blacks that you polled believe that AIDS is a white plot to eliminate the black race. We're talking about genocide.
Exactly.
That was the question being asked of me when I went into the community. Is AIDS a plot to eliminate the black race?
Though there is no scientific evidence to support that notion, the fears persist.
It is the issue of trust.
It is scientific evidence. We just saw it.
Right.
They didn't go after white people. They went after 412 black men. That was a scientific study to destroy the black man's life. They didn't give a damn about how he would have survived how he would have survived that thing. They wanted to continue to use them even after their death. They wanted to examine the organs. So their lives didn't mean nothing to these scientists. So yes, there is scientific proof. Go ahead.
Why should I trust now what you tell me and what the Centers for Disease Control tell me when the Tuskegee experiment took place? And I know that there were people who had syphilis and were not treated.
In 1972, following a flurry of news reports, the Tuskegee study was finally stopped. Congressional testimony by Herman Shaw, among others, led to the first regulations on human medical experimentation and a lawsuit. Survivors were awarded $32,000 each, less than $1,000 for every year they were in the study.
There's no way for me to explain the pain that we went through with those different
So pause it, because a lot of people heard $32,000, but they said they were given less than $1,000 for every year that they've been. So that means they went through this hell for 32 years, basically. 32 years of their lives they went through this. So their lives meant nothing.
Right.
Go ahead.
with no care and no respect for a human being.
How could they have done that?
I don't know, sir. I really don't.
The end result of the experiments, what was learned?
Syphilis isn't too bad a disease.
That was the only thing learned after all of these men were left untreated for all of these years, all of the questions.
Easy for him to say, right?
Immoral, unethical practices, that's all that was learned?
On the basis of when the study stopped, we didn't learn very much, true. We learned that they're nice people back there.
And yet, by Dr. Olansky's own estimates, of the original 412 men, between 20 and 100 died directly from syphilis. And as we said, No one will ever know whether treatment would have helped. As for the survivors, the government pays their medical bills and still covers burial costs. And what about Dr. Olansky and the others who conducted the experiment? No criminal charges were filed against them. It's not clear that at the time they were breaking any laws.
Give me Isaiah. Give me Isaiah. Give me Isaiah 14, 1-3. Give me the third verse first so you can understand. Let me just get to the point because I want to show another video before we close up. Isaiah 14:3. Come on. Read the first verse, the first line, and then we're going to jump down to the third verse. Read.
Isaiah chapter 14 and verse 1. For the Lord will have mercy on Jacob.
Brothers and sisters, we need this kind of mercy. What the hell that we just saw on the screen, we need this kind of Savior. We need some power to get us away from all this evil. And that's the reason why it's important that we keep the laws of the Most High and come together like Zephaniah 2:1 said. We must come together and keep these commandments because we are in the hand of our enemies. That's the reason why Christ said that he is coming to redeem us from the hand of our enemies. You're seeing that now. We're in the last days, and the devil has come down upon us with great wrath because he knoweth that he has but a short time. Give me the third verse. The Lord said he will have mercy on Jacob and will yet choose Israel, the real Israelites. That's us. Verse 3.
Isaiah chapter 14 and verse 3. And it shall come to pass in the day of that the Lord shall give thee rest from thy sorrow.
That's what we've experienced, pure sorrow in this system. Those old men that you saw there, just imagine 30 years of their lives was in complete sorrow, and they never knew this truth. And they were going to church and never learned this. Nobody cared. Nobody came to them to deal with the affliction of the mind. Nobody addressed that trouble that was going on in these men. Just imagine that. For 30 years, you've been diseased and nobody told you about it. And you're up there trying to figure out what's wrong with you. A lot of us are walking around in this society don't know what the hell's wrong with us because we have been dealt with this way. A lot of tricks and traps has been going on. And none of these evil-ass preachers have said a damn thing about the condition of our people.
Right.
None of them. We're going to get your behind, too. Too bad time is running out because if I can go another 2 hours, I'll get your behind.
Yes.
I got more on you. But give me my second. No, finish reading that.
Isaiah chapter 14 and verse 3. And it shall come to pass in the day that the Lord shall give thee rest from thy sorrow. And from thy fear.
And from thy what?
And from thy fear.
That's what we live in. We live in this constant fear. Imagine you can't even, you're sick and because that COVID-19, that thing is grabbing many of our people and we are afraid to go to the doctor because of the history that our people have been through. So just imagine that. So a lot of our people don't know about the scriptures yet, don't know about this Bible, but they're just suffering of a sickness. But they know about what happened to us. From the fear. Go ahead, read that verse again.
And it shall come to pass in the day that the Lord shall give thee rest from thy sorrow and from thy fear and from the hard bondage.
That right there cuts these so-called Jews. Them bastards that's running around talking about they're the Israelites.
Right.
That verse right there told you who the real Jews are. The scriptures say from the hard bondage. That's letting you know who the Israelites are. So all this anti-Semitic garbage that you bastards are talking about, that ain't the Bible. Read that again.
And from the hard bondage wherein thou was made to serve.
And from the hard bondage. The Most High is specifying the bondage to let you know that he's talking about the Israelites. The hardest bondage. That's what Daniel was talking about in the 9th chapter. Give me that real quick. Daniel 9. That's why he's saying, let's see who it's talking about. Because we just read that it's Jacob, but it's going to make it clear who the Israelites are. And you no good spineless preachers, you need to have your backs whipped. For you knowing you've hearing the truth and you ain't saying nothing. Here goes T.D. Jakes going to get up there and talk about the dry bones. It's talking about these bastards. Read.
Daniel chapter 9 and verse 11. Yea, all Israel have transgressed thy law, even by departing, that they might not obey thy voice. Therefore, the curse is poured upon us.
Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter, that's what that's talking about. Go ahead.
And the oath that is written in the law of Moses.
The promise, that's what the oath means, that the Most High was going to put these curses on the Israelites. Go ahead.
The servant of God, because we have sinned against him.
Read.
And he have confirmed his words, which he spake against us and against our judges that judge us, by bringing upon us a great evil. For under the whole heaven have not been done as have been done upon Jerusalem.
And under the whole heaven there has not been done the hard bondage that has been done upon Jerusalem. So when you look at Jerusalem and you think of hard bondage, that's what happened to us. That's the slave ships. That's what happened to us. All of what we just saw on the screen. Now give me my last video real quick with time running.
And Deacon,
yeah,
I just
ahead,
right quick. Matthew's 15:24, and you notice in the story there, he was even talking about they was like sheep, okay, and that's he knows for himself that we are the sheep, the lost sheep. Okay, read that, Matthew 15:24.
Matthew chapter 15 and verse 24.
Uh-huh.
But he answered and said, I am not sent but unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel.
And he sit there and smiled and gated all the way through the whole video, just admit to everything, okay? And I know we're going to deep video. Throw that article up just right quick. And this lesson, Dick, you say, here it is, the revelation of the wicked, right?
Well, exactly.
And what was your subtitle there?
The subtitle was the evil that the Israelites face.
And the evil that the Israelites face. And this article here, just right quick, it goes back March.
Go ahead.
It goes back March 10th, 2020. Okay? Let them see that. So it's nothing new up under the sun. The same thing went back then, same thing going on even today. So it said, report, company will pay $4,500 to be infected with the coronavirus. And this dates back, okay?
You see that?
Yes.
So that's basically Tuskegee all over again.
Again.
And who's the people that need $4,500?
The oppressed.
Black people, the
That's
oppressed,
right.
the downtrodden.
That's exactly
so
right.
that's the same damn thing that you're looking at.
That's the same thing. So we didn't want to go into that, but that's exactly what it's
We're
talking
going to hit that again next week. We ain't done with them. We ain't done with them.
Sir.
Put that video up there that I was talking about. We're going to play that. You know, like I said, it ain't just the black men. Sometimes we got this generational separation between the black man and the black woman, and we'll think that it's just the black men. Your father's black woman went through this thing, and so did you. Go ahead, hit it.
At the edge of Central Park in Manhattan, there's a bronze statue of a doctor named James Marion Sims, whose brilliant achievement carried the fame of American surgery throughout the entire world. He's the guy who created the vaginal speculum, an instrument gynecologists use for examination. He pioneered the surgical repair for fistula, a complication from childbirth, and became known as the father of modern gynecology. But that brilliant achievement was the result of a series of excruciating experimental surgeries that he conducted on enslaved women. In a lot of ways, Sims epitomizes the story of American medicine for black women. It's a system that's failing them to this day. From infant mortality to life expectancy,
look at them statistics.
The racial disparities in healthcare are staggering. The gulf between black and white might be widest when we look at...
Pause it right there. Stop. Look at them numbers. Black females, it's an infant mortality death, meaning deaths per 100,000 lives birthed. We got 43.5%. White females got 12%, but yet we supposed to make up 12 to 13% of the population. But look at the staggering numbers that we give. Go ahead.
Mortality, with black women 3 to 4 times more likely to die in connection with pregnancy or birth than white women. And that divide can be traced back to doctors like Sims, who contributed to a long, largely overlooked history of institutional racism in medicine.
Trying to understand a historical problem without knowing its history is like trying to treat a patient without eliciting a thorough medical history. You're doomed to failure.
That's Harriet Washington, a medical ethicist and author who chronicled the intersection of race and medicine in her book, Medical Apartheid. While many of the stark racial disparities in healthcare can be attributed to environmental and economic factors like access to good healthcare, studies show that minority patients tend to receive a lower quality of care than non-minorities, even when they have the same types of health insurance or the same ability to pay for care.
As African Americans, we've been abused for so long, consistently by the system. Why should we trust it? Why should we go to it when ill? And that's iatrophobia. That's a fear of the healer, inculcated by the behavior of those healers, unfortunately.
It starts with slavery. Doctors relied on slave owners for financial stability. They accompanied plantation masters to auctions to verify the fitness of slaves and were called in to treat sick slaves to protect their owners' investments. In 1807, Congress abolished the importation of slaves and in turn pushed black women to have more children, to essentially breed slaves. Founding Father Thomas Jefferson later wrote, "I consider a woman who brings a child every 2 years as more profitable than the best man on the farm." Around the 1830s, the abolitionist movement led to the rise of what was called Negro medicine, or efforts to identify black inferiority to justify slavery. And there were polygenists who tried to use both science and the Bible to find proof that races evolved from different origins. The 1830s also marked the beginning of recorded experimentation on black women's bodies. One doctor performed experimental C-sections on slaves. Another one perfected the dangerous ovariotomy, or removal of an ovary by testing the procedure on slave women. In fact, half the original articles in the 1836 Southern Medical and Surgical Journal dealt with experiments on black people. And then, of course, there was James Marion Sims, whose reputation is etched in history and on that statue in Central Park. Between 1845 and 1849, Sims began performing experimental surgeries on a 17-year-old slave named Anarcha. He eventually performed 30 operations on Anarcha and more surgeries on about 11 other female slaves. When his male colleagues could no longer bear to assist him in inflicting pain on the women, the slaves took turns restraining one another. Yet paintings depicting Sims, Anarcha, and other slave women presented a subdued version of his experiments. Even though anesthesia was introduced in 1846, Sims chose not to use it for his experimentation with slaves.
Do you hear that?
His practices echoed one of the most prevalent...
Anesthesia was available, but they said no. We want to continue to work her in pure pain. Go ahead.
And dangerous beliefs in medicine at the time that black people did not feel pain or anxiety. This book from 1851, titled The Natural History of Human Species, claimed the American dark races bear with indifference tortures insupportable to a white man. Studies released as recently as last year demonstrate that black people are less likely to be treated for pain, particularly in the ER.
Pause it. I'm a witness to that. I don't want to go too far with it. Me and my wife, we worked in the hospitals. We know patients will be screaming, and they would be like, "Oh, he'll be all right." Some of them would do that. I ain't gonna go too far with it, but I know that happens. But if a white kid was acting up, they would be at his bedside making sure that he gets treated, all that, quickly. They'll have the black man just screaming. Then they'll finally deal with him. But he or she will not get the same attention that the white people would get. I've seen this with my own damn eyes. And I was mad as hell at that damn thing. And yes, I said something. You damn right I said something. I'm going to tell you straight, I said something. Go ahead.
It's the same thing they did, because I was thinking that anesthesia wasn't available when they was doing.
That's the reason why when you go to the ER, the black people start tearing up in the room because they be saying, "You better deal with me, damn it." They be losing it because of that. Go ahead.
Right. But I was thinking that anesthesia wasn't available when they were doing the Tuskegee experiments. Remember, they was doing the spinal tap.
Exactly.
And they said that they had to hold them down because it hurt so much.
Exactly.
As opposed to giving them anesthesia in that area, they did the same exact thing to the slaves.
Right. Exactly. So just letting you black men and black women know that they don't like neither one of us. Okay? The scriptures say that we need to come together, understand that this is not our rest. Brothers and sisters, we have to band together. We have to come together and keep the laws of the Most High and get ready for our deliverance, okay? I know there was more on that, but time is running out. Next week, we're going to get into more, because I got a whole lot of scriptures that's going to back all of this up, but I just wanted to pre-season your brain a little bit with some of this historical ugliness that happened to us so that you can see that we are, in fact, the real Jews. You're going to see that we are the true Israelites. And another thing I want to say, too, while I'm at it. This whole thing about you got these Negroes running around talking about some of the 12 tribe chart. There's no such thing as that. The Bible used the word sign. I want to make sure that the people understand it, because they're trying to, like me and Bishop, we talked about it. They're trying to unbiblify the reality about who the 12 tribes are by talking about it some damn chart. It ain't no chart. It's the 12 tribe sign. That's the scripture that the Bible used. The words that the Bible used. Let's read that. Let's read that real quick and end it with that thing. End it with that. There. Give me Ezekiel 37. Let's get that real quick. Ezekiel 37. I'm just going to touch this thing real quick. The 12 tribes. It ain't no chart. Chart is something that's made up.
Right.
This is what the Most High said. Ezekiel 37, the verse that talks about the sign. It said it shall be in thine hand. I'm rushing it, brothers. That's why I'm trying to rush it real quick. Come on, read.
Ezekiel chapter 37 and verse 19. Say unto them, thus saith the Lord God, behold, I will take the stick of Joseph.
I will take the stick of Joseph. Go ahead.
Which is in the hand of Ephraim, fellows, and will put them with him, even with the stick of Judah, and make them one stick, and they shall be one in mine hand. Verse 20. And the sticks whereon thou writest shall be in thy hand before their eyes.
Go ahead.
And say unto them, thus saith the Lord God, behold, I will take the children of Israel from among the heathen, whether they be gone, and will gather them on every side and bring them into their own land.
So the Most High said that the tribes are supposed to be written down on this wood. That's basically what it said. And put the two sticks together, and they shall be in thine hand for the people to see. Now give me Deuteronomy. I'm rushing it now because I was going to go deeper into this, but time didn't permit. Deuteronomy 28, verse 45.
Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 45. Moreover, all these curses shall come upon thee, and shall pursue thee, and overtake thee, till thou be destroyed, because thou hearkenest not unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to keep his commandments and his statutes which he commanded thee.
Go ahead.
And they shall be upon thee for a sign.
And they shall be upon thee for what?
A sign.
These curses shall be upon us for a sign to let the people know who the Israelites are. Give me Genesis 49, 1 and 2.
Genesis chapter 49 and verse 1. And Jacob called unto his sons and said, gather yourselves together, that I may tell you that which shall befall you in the last days.
That's the time that we're in now. So Jacob called unto the 12 tribes, the sons, the patriarchs of the 12 tribes of Israel, come before me. Go ahead.
Verse 2, gather yourselves together, and hear, ye sons of Jacob, and hearken unto Israel your father. Reuben, thou...
Now, give me the first verse again.
Verse 1, and Jacob called unto his sons, and said, gather yourselves together, that I may tell you that which shall befall you in the last days.
So as you read through these tribes, you find out the characteristics of these tribes. Ezekiel was going into that. That's what he was talking about. That's how the dry bones came together. That whole chapter is talking about the revitalization of the nation of Israel coming back as the Israelites. So I don't know what the hell T.D. Jakes, what kind of drink he was drinking.
Right.
To come up with that madness. Okay? The Israelites are you so-called Negroes, West Indian, Haitian, Puerto Ricans, Cubans, Mexicans, the Dominicans, Panamanians. Those are the Israelites that the Bible speaks of, and all of the signs is in this Bible. Not no damn chart. It's talking about the 12 tribes Israel. It's the sign that's going to show who these people are, and it ain't these so-called Jews either. It's you blacks and Hispanics. Go ahead, Captain. We're gonna pick the subject up again next week. I hope you brothers and sisters got something out of this lesson. There's a lot on here, and I tried to stay with the course. Go ahead, Captain.
Well, again, Revelation of the Wicked, and your what was your other subtitle again, D? I love it. I just want to make sure they keep the thought.
Yeah,
you know?
the subtitle was
Revelation of the Wicked,
the evil that the Israelites face.
And the evil that the Israelites face.
Right.
Oh, praise it. So let's move it over, brothers and sisters. Please, again, we want to put this out to you. Don't neglect to give your alms. For those who would like to give alms, fill out the envelope and place it in your box at your local congregation. To give alms online, donate to IUIC Concord via PayPal at iuic.concord.nc@israelunite.org. Also, continue to donate to the Booster Club via PayPal at iuic.fundraising@israelunite.org. And also like to thank y'all for your donation and your giving of alms to help support this truth. We really appreciate y'all for doing that as we continue to push this gospel. I definitely want to say thank you, thank you, thank you.
Okay, all praise to the Most High. Brothers and sisters, you don't want to miss next week. Next week, we're going to hit you with the scriptures, going to hit you with the history books. We're going to hit you with a whole lot of stuff that's going to line it all up. It's going to make all of this, all what y'all saw today is going to fit into everything that's about to drop. I got to hear. We just didn't have the time to bring it all out, but it's coming at you.
Yes, indeed.
Brothers and sisters, stay in the spirit, stay strong, and most of all, like Bishop say, stay in the spirit. I'm Deacon Asaph. For the rest of the brothers, we got the brothers in the booth. Go ahead, Captain.
Captain Soraya, happy Sabbath to you.
Hey, Officer Eli, happy Sabbath. Don't forget new moons on Monday night.
All praises.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Officer Nashon, happy Sabbath.
Okay, and once again, want to give a salute to my brothers in the booth and on the cameras. Officer Azaria, Soldier Uriah, got Soldier Hosea. We have also Soldier Israel, and also Officer King Kaz. Y'all know him from the Second Kings album. Okay, they were in the booth making sure that this work get out done. We got through the kinks a little bit, but we're gonna get even better. So with that, brothers and sisters, we'll say shalom, happy Sabbath.
Shalom,
Stay in the spirit.
Israel.
We love you.
Shalom, happy Sabbath.
Shalom.
Most High Christ bless you all.